Hey guys, Kaiju here. It's been a little bit since I've done a Kaiju review, and I did recently get a figure that I think would be pretty cool to review with you guys, mainly just due to how rare it is, and I got it for a really good price, so I'm really excited to kind of own it and have it in my collection. And that monster, or more or less that monster figure, is Scorpiss from Ultraman Cosmos. Now, for those of you who are not aware, this is a monster that appeared in a Ultraman Cosmos movie. I think there's two of which, but this one was called The Blue Planet, I believe. In such movie, Scorpiss is kind of just a jobber to the main baddie of that movie, whose name I can't remember at this time. Nonetheless, Scorpiss is a very cool looking monster. Despite the name, I don't actually think it's based on anything relating to a scorpion. It's actually like an insect in the film, if I'm not mistaken. And, you know, despite kind of being just an evil lackey to the main bad guy, it's still a very, very cool design, and also, to add on top of that, a very, very rare figure to come across. I've only seen a handful of them pop up on eBay and other places, and this one was only, I think, like $35, which is a very, very good price for a figure as rare as this guy is. So without further ado, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the review of this guy. So obviously, we always start off with detail on the figure, and if I bring Scorpiss up for a closer look, you can definitely see very, very good looking all around. There's a lot of nice detail, as Bandai always does, but there's also a lot of nice paint to back that up, which is pretty rare. The only places where I think it could have been a little bit better is underneath the tail here and underneath the feet. I can kind of understand the feet because they have to put info on here, but I don't know about the tail as much. The very limited footage of Scorpiss there is online is mainly at night, so I don't know how, like, accurate this could be. And of course, you know, obviously it's mainly just, like, shots, you know, like this, where he's fighting another monster, not of the underside of his tail. So it's very hard to say whether that's, like, accurate or not. But, you know, other than that, it's really, really good looking. And weirdly enough, he also has some claws down here, which are not painted. Kind of a odd placement, but, you know, that's more on the suit designers than Bandai. Alright, so with detail out of the way, let us now get into my favorite when it comes to this figure, which is probably articulation. That category is always pretty good. And surprisingly, with Scorpiss here, it's actually fantastic, I would say. For a fairly small figure, this guy is probably a little over 5.5 inches tall. He has some very nice articulation. So, starting off up here, his head can move, and then so can his arms. His arms can go up and down, but I just kind of like to kind of keep him down here, maybe like this, because up here he kind of looks like he's about to fly, which he actually can do, I guess, but you wouldn't have guessed that based on his body. It looks more like he has a big old shell on him. His legs can also move. They're a lot harder to do, but his legs can as well. They can kick forward about that much and go back about that much right there. His tail can also move right here, not up here, just right down to this little bit. So that's 6 points right now, right? And you would think this is kind of where it stops, but no, there is actually one more, and it's at the tail itself, and I bet you can never guess what it is. It is this little pincher down here, and not this one, just this one. For whatever reason, this one and this one only moves, but this one does not. I don't know if that's maybe a reference to the movie, and maybe there's a scene where that happens or something along those lines, but yeah, for whatever reason, this part of the tail can move and spin, you know, 360, just as the tail can itself. Kind of strange, but that's 7 points of articulation right there, which is not bad at all. And obviously now we get into sizing, which is not as good as articulation. In fact, I would probably say it's the worst category of the three that we have to go over. And I will start off with Ultraman Cosmos, because this is the Ultra that he kind of fought in his show, and if you guys have seen any of my other reviews, you know that Ultraman Cosmos does not stand. And you can also see by the way that I have this shot framed, and the entirety of the video, I guess, that Scorpiss is very, very short, which is not how he's supposed to be. Scorpiss is actually fairly tall in his appearance. You know, he's about Ultraman's height, yet, you know, somehow the figure is, like, not even up to his chest. So that's a little bit unfortunate. I only know that Scorpiss faces off with, I think, like, only 2 or 3 other monsters. I know Ultraman Justice is one of them, and the only other one that I know he actually, like, goes alongside with is the monster that controls him. Like I said, Scorpiss is a jobber, but I don't have either of those figures. I don't have Ultraman Justice or that monster on hand, so I can always just kind of bring out like an old classic. Here, let's do someone that I'm sure everyone is familiar with, Godzilla. And I kind of have to move the camera back a little bit for this one. This is the NECA 1954 original release. I think this was put out in like 2015 or 16. You know, if you have any Godzilla, this is about as tall as it gets. And yeah, Scorpiss only goes up to like neck height when it comes to this Godzilla figure. Godzilla could literally look down and just breathe his atomic breath on him and kill him instantly. And as for like any other figures, I can kind of give another example of a figure that's somewhat similar sized, and one that I probably will review someday because it's a figure that I've had for a little while now. Godzilla Tetris. I know it's not necessarily Tetris, that's just the easy way I like to call it, and this is the Playmates variant. This is the third form out of the 4 that Godzilla has in Godzilla Singular Point, and in my opinion, one of the cooler looking ones. And this is him next to Scorpiss. Obviously, he's a little bit bigger, but, you know, like Scorpiss is bigger. But still, fairly even matchup, I would say. Scorpiss is actually a very powerful kaiju in his film debut, but I would still say, you know, since it's Godzilla, he maybe has a chance. And overall, Singular Point Godzilla is pretty goddamn big. Like, I know he looks a little bit shorter here, but trust me, he's got quite a very long tail and pretty muscular legs to back himself up. So, kind of odd matchup, but still pretty cool. That is the Scorpiss review, I think. That's all I really can say about this guy. Really good figure, and very rare. There is not a lot of them that you can ever find on eBay or anything like that, which is kind of strange. It is a very nice looking figure, and it's one that definitely has a lot of good qualities to it. Just, I'm not exactly sure why it's as, like, rare as it is when you compare it to monsters like Eukilosaurus. Like, it's in that same range, I would say. I've even probably seen more Eukilosauruses than I have Scorpisses in my day. The least good thing about it is probably the sizing, but, you know, I'm not sure anyone's really going to complain about that too much when the detail and articulation are as good as they are. And yeah, thank you all for watching this review, and I don't know when the next one will be, but, you know, whenever it comes out, you'll see it, and I'll see you when that review eventually comes around. Thank you all for watching.